Welcome back to the Human Torus podcast with me, Max Harvey. Today we are all super blessed to have Truth Calkins back. The first premiere podcast of this channel was with Truth, and now it's been 4 years and Truth is back for another podcast, and we both dove straight into the subject of Shen, all matters spiritual, starting with the ALKYWAN Crystal.
So I was a little skeptical, but I did my job. I started to research it and find out everything I could. And the more I researched, I started to say, at first I thought, okay, this sounds a little bit like, I don't know if this is going to be real. But the more I started to research it, it got very unique and very interesting. And I used to think, there could be something here. This is interesting. Okay. So, and then finally, after a couple days research, watching some of the longer videos, I started to think there's a chance this is real. And if this is real, this could be a real great addition to my program. Pretty powerful tool. Just a sphere, a special crystal that comes from another place that is very unique in how it is made. And and you just put it in your house or your place or your business or your healing center, and it's going to cleanse the space, and it's going to start to help healing with people, and it's going to start to help increase their intentions, to help them manifest and create and increase their spiritual gifts and ascension ultimately. And I thought this could be true. I thought, well, I got to try one, but they're pretty expensive. And they have different models. They have smaller ones and bigger ones, and the price goes up, of course, as you go to the big ones. And so I was trying to think, well, gosh, it's a lot of money and I'm on a budget, trying to finish my book. But after a couple days research, I thought I better get one. But I think I should get one, and I think I should try it. And I'm getting a little excited that this could be real and it could up my whole program, and it could speed up the manifestation time of the manifestation work I'm doing as well. But so I was looking at buying the middle of the range one for like 2,200, but it was still it was a little bit stressing my budget. So I thought I'm just going to wait on this. And I thought about it on and off for a few weeks. I felt attracted to it. Like I do want to get this. I want to try it. I need to test it out. I won't know for sure if I don't buy one and test it. And then I kind of stopped thinking about it. I just kept going up and up on my program and doing my research and tweaking stuff and working with people, getting very, very busy and doing great. And then um, a few days ago, I had a particularly long, deep sleep, and I had a very intense, deep, old dream at the end of my sleep before I woke up. It was reliving, partially associated to an older, kind of late childhood, somewhat trauma that I had. And I didn't like the dream that much because it was intense. And I'd had this dream before, multiple times in my life because of this event. It was pretty traumatic for me. And so I woke up after this and I didn't like having this dream. And I'm like, wow, I intuitively felt there's still an issue here inside of me, my being, involved with this experience from my past. So I started thinking immediately, this is just in seconds of waking up and you remember a dream, it's very vivid. I started thinking, well, I want to transmute this. I want to heal this. I know this is holding me back. It could be a root cause for some of the challenges or injuries who knows? Like, it's time to deal with this all the way. I started thinking, what do I have time for? I know there's some techniques that require work that you can go back, but I don't have time for that right now because I'm on a schedule, my book, my program, my clients. And then suddenly it just came to me, ALKYWAN, like it spoke to me. Like, I got to get that crystal. I hadn't thought about it in a few months, but I was researching it and I was starting to get deep and make a connection with it, feeling like I need this. And then I felt a strong feeling. So then I went back. I started thinking about finances. I started thinking, to get one. I started looking at the different options. I went back and did some quick research, watched a 15-minute video, and I suddenly got the consciousness of this crystal that I didn't get before 4 months ago from my previous research. And I realized, whoa, this thing is a sentient being. Huh. It's alive. It has a consciousness of its own. It chooses who to work with, I believe. I've been doing this work. I've been back on the cloud meditation for the last month. from Saint Germain, which is a very powerful. That's one thing I can't teach people. I can teach people the 5 rights. I can teach people the deer meditation, which is a Kundalini brain opening consciousness technique, very powerful and not hard to teach, especially in person. But building the cloud meditation, which activated for me in the early part of 2007, after I read the book On Alchemy by Saint Germain. And that book blew me away. Once I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. I had to read the whole thing all the way through. And in a few sentences, about maybe 3 points throughout this long book, that's written in an old type of English. This is channeled from like 1930s by the ascended masters that worked with Saint Germain in Saint Germain. And they give, and it's like, so it's like if you read an early version of an English translated Bible that was written by the translator from the 1930s. The use of the words, the vocabulary in the English language is a little different than a modern translation of a book that's written in the 1970s, 80s, especially 90s or something, okay, where they just write differently. So it's hard for people to read those old green books, the original green books, the channel Saint Germain books from the Ascended Masters, because it's almost like Old English. I mean, it's not Chaucer, it's not real Old English, that's hard, but it's kind of like 30% towards that. It's like they use different vocabulary, big words, different sentence structure, and so you have to want to read this, to sit down, be calm, slow down, and get into that style of writing. And it was my 2-week vacation break up in Northern California with the family from Erewhon in Los Angeles, right after 2006, before 2007. And I took that book with me and I thought, this is what I'm going to read during this break. I started reading it and it just resonated with me. It was deep. It was powerful, that book. And I believe channeled books are encoded, the text, when you read them. So when you're reading that book, if you make a connection with that book, light rays from the channeled source are going to download light into your being. It will start to make changes to your DNA. And that's an activation. So this book had a profound effect on me. And then there was most of its history, most of its spiritual advice, most of it is, I felt like a spiritual purification. As you're reading the book, it's a little hard to read. You have to resonate with the content, kind of get into it, and feel the spiritual moral obligation to continue reading, because this is deeply, profoundly healing for you. And there's good information. Bits of information about Decomte de Saint Germain is, I don't know, 200, 300-year life in that incarnation around 1700s in Europe. And so those tidbits of information are provocative. They're interesting to learn, because I've heard rumors before, but now I'm reading the book. And then the history of the United States of America, when he failed to create a United States of Europe, which he attempted to do by befriending royalty around Europe. But they wouldn't give in to his political advice to try to create a United States of Europe, because he saw war throughout the history of humanity in modern times, war over different names for the same God among different religions of different histories and cultures of different parts of the world. And they're no, my God under this name is right. No, your God is sacrilegious. It's wrong. But they're the same gods. And Saint Germain knew that because of his level of consciousness. And then these countries go to war and they slaughter each other. And this has been going on for so long. And Saint Germain believed that this is the biggest thing that's holding back humanity, and its evolution of oneness and love and coherence together, and all of us coming together and ascending together and moving up, is that we're killing each other over the stupidity of arguing about semantics over God, when it's the same God, different religions, different names. So he said, he thought, my goal now as a master is to create, where I live, Europe, France, to create a United States of Europe, where everyone could celebrate the same God, or one God, and everyone at the same time can have their own different religions and not be persecuted for that, not have, the Nazis trying to murder the Jews or whatever, everyone is oneness, and under the same God. And then we can start to evolve as humanity. And so he tried to do that in Europe, and he failed. And the French Revolution came along, and it was a bloodbath. And he saw it, and he went back to the Far East into retreat, and then he came up with a new plan. This continent that was just recently discovered, the North America, the United States of America, that we now know, he saw that as a place for Europeans to immigrate. And he thought, I can help create a new jurisdiction on this new land under one God, that we can all different religions can come together and not be persecuted and not be and be together and be in harmony. And so that's why it's part of the Pledge of Allegiance in the United States, under one nation, under God, to which it stands. We used to have to say this whole thing, the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America, when we were children going to elementary school. And it's like a 2-minute thing, a 1-minute thing. I only remember bits of it. But when you read this book, you learn the history. When you read Saint Germain's book on alchemy, you learn the history of the formation of the United States of America and how Saint Germain worked from the lighter realms with the founding fathers of America, like Ben Franklin and all on the others. And you learn in this book that there's no way the colonists in America, there's no way they could have got it together that fast and got sovereign from the English and created their own states, their own country. Saint Germain did that. We have President's Days in America, holidays, but we don't have a Saint Germain Day. After I read that book, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the truth. We don't have a Saint Germain Day. But so great book, but a few tidbit pieces throughout that book, he shares a meditation with geometry, very specific instructions, brief, quick, easy. It's called Building the Cloud meditation. And it accesses a light that was taken away from this planet, a power and a light and an energy that comes from a different ray from a higher realm that was once allowed on this plane, on planet Earth, but it was misused by the Atlanteans for technology, and they caused damage on this planet. And so the higher beings took it away for a long time. And then somewhere around the sixth Kohen, around the 30s, I guess, the ascended masters seeing humanity starting to go up in consciousness a little bit, to move towards ascension for the whole planet in the fifth dimension, they made a special dispensation, and they allowed this ray, this light, to come back to planet Earth, to those humans who know about it or can choose to access it through meditation, to use it for healing, to use it for increased consciousness, to use it to accelerate spiritual growth and raise the light quotient on planet Earth, to help planet Earth in its ascension along with us and our ascension with it. And so doing this meditation called Building the Cloud, this specific technique, Saint Germain explains, you can gain access to this light ray, this very powerful light ray that can be used for your own ascension, your own healing. You can, once you build the cloud and you hold the cloud, you can bring another person into the cloud that you see in your mind, as long as you can see the person and keep the cloud going. And now you can send energy remote and start healing that person. A material thing that you need to manifest, like I needed a new car when my transmission was going out. And when I read the book and I had learned the cloud, and I thought, well, what do I really want for a car? I thought I can only afford an older used car at a very low price range that's going to break down again soon. And I thought, no, I want something better. And I was thinking about the cloud, and it was making me very positive. Plus, I was doing the Abraham Hicks studying a lot, as Jay Denman and everyone else with me at the Tonic Bar was doing in those days. So I was thinking of law of attraction and trying to be very positive. And I thought, no, I want to manifest a way better car. I'm going to use the cloud. I'll pull up the cloud and hold it, and I'll bring the car I think I want. And I chose the car I wanted, and I pulled it into the cloud, and I manifested it within a very short period of time. A customer at Air his father owns basically all the car dealerships around Los Angeles. And I was doing private consulting and helping him with his health. And I showed up late one day because I had another gear went out of my manual transmission in my car. So I had to go from first to like fourth. And it was really hard to drive my car because I lost 2 gears now. And this car had a problem. It kept burning up gearboxes fast. It kept um, thrashing the transmissions, and it was something to do with how the engine was modified by the previous owner. And I would go to this cheap mechanic to get it fixed each time, but it's still kind of expensive to get a whole new transmission and to have to do it again in a year. It's like, that's ridiculous. So I showed up really late to his house, and then he just told me, well, I'll get you a car. And then I ended up getting the car I wanted that I had pulled into the cloud. But anyhow, so I read the book. I was on holiday at home, Christmas time, read the whole book. I was really attracted to the directions in the cloud. It seemed pretty simple. I'm good with geometry as far as spatial reasoning with my brain compared to things like algebra. So I like imagining physical dimensions. So I started to construct the cloud and work on the meditation when I went home back to LA, back to Erewhon. And I followed his instructions. I set a timer for 18 minutes in the morning, right when I wake up. And again, right before bed, I set a timer for 18 minutes. I had a little kitchen timer. And I sit there and close my eyes and I try to reconstruct and build the cloud of light, of moving light particles that encompass this sphere in 3 dimensions, where you can see it in the front and the back and the sides, 9-foot radius, 18-foot diameter. And the first, I don't know, couple of months doing it every single day, I didn't notice anything. I was trying my best with my eyes closed during the timer while the meditation is going on to build it. I'd see one side of the cloud start to form, and then I tried to see the other side, and I'd lose this side, and I start to build that side, and it would fall apart, And I'm working on it. And the only reason I'm doing this, I've never done a sit down committed meditation before, really, except the deer meditation, which is easy because that just takes a few minutes. It's very physical. But as far as passive long-term meditation, never done it before in my life. So here I am doing this because the book was so inspiring. The book blew me away with history, with it's so deep when you read all this spiritual information the way he writes. It felt like reading the book all the way through in a relatively short amount of time. The book on alchemy by Saint Germain. It's kind of like a spiritual detox, purification, activation, and reconnection to the integrity of my soul. I was so moved. I felt like this is my spiritual father, Saint Germain. It's kind of like if you haven't gone to church in a long time and you feel the need to be in a spiritual environment, to be in a place of light, because any kind of church or temple in the world, it doesn't matter what the religion is, if all these people congregate and come and sit down, and for this 2 hours for the sermon, they're not focusing on their physical lives or their money or their survival or their body or their hunger. They come there with reverence for God, whatever the name of their God is, that this is a house of sacredness, of a spiritual temple, a place we come to focus on something divine, something higher than ourselves, something greater than ourselves. And we know we're on holy ground when we go to church. So people put on their best clothes. They're respectful to others. They're patient. They're kind as they're getting in line, getting in the pews, sitting down to church. And then they listen to the sermon. And everybody wants help in their lives. Everybody's got pain or financial challenges, or they're worried about a family member or something. So people go to church because they're hoping for a little help from above. No matter what kind of religion they believe in, most people believe in some kind of higher power, whether it's angels or God or ascended masters or Jesus or whatever, and some people don't go to church all the time, but most people have gone at periods throughout their life. And it's usually when they feel they could use a little help from above because they don't know how to fix stuff that's going on in their life. Or they have a little guilt or a little shame, or they're trying to purge or purify. They're looking for help. Okay, they go to church and they focus on. And so the ascended masters always say, when people go to church, because they're focusing on just the concept of God and oneness, and that their light rays open up from the higher beings and the angels and the ascended masters, the Council of Elohim, Council of the Ra, whatever you want to call them. It's very complex. The hierarchy, of course. There's always portals of light that open up and bathe such an establishment, whether it's a temple or a mosque or a church. Okay. And I hadn't been to church in years. I'm reading Saint Germain's book quickly all the way through, just riveted. And it felt like I hadn't been to church for a really long time, and I suddenly went to a good church with a really good sermon, and it was a reconnection to my spiritual integrity of my childhood. We all have a more pure and spiritual connection to God or to source or to our higher being, our higher self, and the God within us. Because that's where it is. God's within the breastplate side of us, too. We all have most of us, if we've have, because we're new arrivals and we're pure and innocent, and our shin has not been beat up yet from the outside world and let down and pain and suffering and hurt, disappointment or trauma. Most of us, when we're young and pure, we can make a more intuitive, easier connection to God. And so when we go to a church with family members that we love, maybe when we're children, and we feel it when we're children, this is a place of light. This is a place of purity. This is a holy ground. We're focusing on God just for a few hours, once a week, or once a month, or once a year, whenever you go to church. We're focusing on this concept of God. Most kids get it. It's intuitive. It makes sense. If they have just even a little bit of an old soul inside of them. Some kids may not. They're distracted. But and when I say kid, I don't mean 3, 4, 5 years old. I mean maybe a little bit older, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, where they're old enough that they can settle down and be calm for a few hours and not be fidgeting around with their toys like a child. So I mean a little bit older, and they can feel the goodness, the natural intuitiveness, and that's why everybody feels good when they leave church. Okay. For me, when I read Saint Germain's book, it felt like I went to a really good church, like I was pulled to a galactic retreat or something. I don't know. And it made me rebuild a little bit, recharge my spiritual moral code. We all have a spiritual moral code. The dark forces are trying to break that down with all the trash in our culture that we can get addicted to. Okay. But there's most of us, there is a core innate goodness that is so good inside of all of us. That is a being of love. Okay. And if you listen to that inner being, then you won't trash your soul by doing bad things in life and harming yourself, destroying yourself, harming others, cheating, lying, getting on a destructive path. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to try so hard in things you think you want and start to make mistakes and hurt your soul a little bit. And you try to fix it, you try to feel it. And for me, I had been on a pretty good path, but I'm also not as deep on my spiritual path, working at ALKYWAN in Los Angeles full time at the tonic bar, trying to help everybody, as I was when I had gone through some monastic periods of my life where I was very isolated, alone, not working, spending time in nature, and being a Taoist monk. Those periods of my life had the deepest spiritual because I just was isolated. I was alone. I was in nature. I was going to bed with the sun, waking up with the sun. I was not around family. I didn't have a job. I didn't have to think about money. I spent my time in nature. I read books. I walked around. I did Qigong 3 times a day and got into a routine of doing that for a few years, for 3 years. And that was one of the deepest, most spiritual periods of my life. When I was working at ALKYWAN in 2007, busy, busy, busy in Los Angeles with lots and lots of people, you got to get into your ego. You got to get into your body. You got to be, to be able to work with people. And so that was my goal at that time, to make a healing center that would be successful. And that's what I was trying to do with ALKYWAN Tonic Bar. So I couldn't be a full-blown isolated monk in those years. But I'd take a break, my holiday vacation between 2006 and 2007. I read Saint Germain's book on alchemy for the first time. And
on that time that you were working at ALKYWAN, I think during the early noughties, the late 90s, or the early noughties, a lot of us incarnating now in this particular lifetime, to be a monk away from our tribe, our collective, is not really what we're here for, So it's like, but to be able to do it for a short period of time and then bring that remembered wisdom back into the matrix and then infuse it. I mean, that will speed up the trajectory of our sort of collective remembering. So it's like that is the ultimate service, I think, in this particular lifetime for someone in a genetically Western kind of born into a Western culture.
Well, yeah, wow. Thank you, Max. Um that's very perceptive of you to say that. And I guess because I guess that's what happened to me. I went through my acting career in the 90s. I burned out my Jing. I stressed so hard trying to achieve physical and material success and social success. And then I burnt myself out and damaged my shin and Jing, got stressed. So I went, when medicine couldn't heal me, I thought I have to go back to nature to heal me. So I created this natural program. I isolate myself for 3 years as a monk, following the body ecology diet and Jing tonic herbs and the 5 rites, trying to rebuild my Jing and heal my chronic fatigue, my panic attacks, my depression, and my gut health and everything with body ecology system. And when doctors failed me, I realized I got to go back to nature. I got to stop working. I got to take a break. I got to live alone. The first year committing to that, I went through withdrawal to the matrix that I was addicted to, going out, partying, shopping, movies, girls, money, working, all the cool stuff in your 20s that you do, and living in a city thinking you're successful, making money and being cool and hip, whatever. I burned myself out trying to do all that stuff. Well, trying to really make a success as an actor, which, and at the end of my 20s, burned myself out, ended up choosing a pretty aggressive, radical approach. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to go chapter 11, which I didn't technically do that, but it's what we call bankruptcy in America. I stopped paying my bills, stopped paying my taxes. I stopped working. I stopped communicating with family members and friends. I moved to a basement up in the Hollywood Hills that was alone by the big park, Griffith Park, so I could be close to nature. Super cheap, $400 a month cash under the door to the hermit landlord upstairs. And I had my own studio apartment for the first time where I could live alone and try to follow a healthy lifestyle without the criticism of roommates who are not into health that think I'm stupid at my age trying to do all this health stuff because I was the healthiest sick person in my late 20s, so trying all these weird things. And so I did what you said. I became a monk for 3 years. In the first year to continue it, I kind of went through a breakdown of the withdrawal of everything I was addicted to in modern society. And then after I went through that withdrawal, I dropped into a deep spiritual place for the next 2 years and practiced my daily living in my program. And then I reached a level of healing and no more stress and depression, a level of oneness and connection with nature, and a humbleness and a love for life and all and people, and quite a lot of knowledge gained with natural medicine practices as well, in Chinese medicine, among one of them. And then I got begged to be pulled into the health industry at that point, at the 3 year point, by Ron Teagarden to work for Dragon Herbs initially inside of Air One. And then my health career working out with people took off. Before that, all my attempts to heal myself for 3 years, I never planned to give any advice to another person besides me. I was on a quest, a mission to just heal myself. And then I realized it was more complex. I had to heal myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's why I isolated myself for 3 years to become a monk. It took courage to do that. But because I had a naturopathic upbringing, I knew the power of nature. If I changed everything, my sleep, my stress, my money, my work, like unplug from the matrix 100%, that now something's got to give. If I do all that and eat the best food and learn to detox my body and learn to meditate and learn yoga, learn to clean my colon, learn to kill candida and learn to build my Jing, if I do all that, I got to get better. I got to really be able to be the perfect whole health that I want to be again, without the stress in my body, without the premature aging, without the chronic fatigue. So that's what I did for 3 years. And then I got asked to leave that monk lifestyle partially and come into the world of alternative health to work in the biggest health food store in Los Angeles, ALKYWAN Natural Foods, and a Three Treasure Taoist Chinese herb tonic bar that was stationed inside that health food store. And the desire to create a healing center to help others made me do it. So scared to do it because I know about, if I was going to get a relapse of chronic fatigue, if I get back into the matrix, because I was very much a monk before I did that. But I did what you said. Yeah, I became a monk for a period of time. I healed, I learned, I activated, I became a better human being from it. And then I came back to society so I could be a teacher. And that's the real definition of a doctor. But the whole reason I'm talking about this, so now I guess we have a whole separate podcast here, uh, is because I wanted to share the ALKYWAN crystal with you, because I know how you appreciate uh, high vibrational spiritual tools from the lighter realms that can help activate man and help us ascend. And this is what the ALKYWAN crystal is. And I just ordered the biggest one, the Master Sphere. That's $3,333. It takes them, they make it in Czechoslovakia. It's the hardest one for them to make. It'll take 3 weeks before I get it. And all because 4 months ago, I woke up and I decided to reinvent myself. And I watched some powerful channel material about how to change your life fast with mantras, affirmations. I started my Create My Day speeches, and I decided to cut out a few lingering vices in my life 100% and redesign my program to go 100% to succeeding my goals, but not just with physical tools 4 months ago, adding a higher emphasis than ever before with spiritual tools in addition to my physical tools. I'm not saying my physical tools, I'm not lowering them in any means. I mean, I've got the most powerful physical program, the best herb supplements, water protocols, blah, 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 technologies you could possibly imagine. But in addition to that, I decided to make time to add the most powerful spiritual tools with Create My Day, speech, affirmation, focus card, and the ones that were the most lucrative took the least time, because I'm still trying to write a book here and work with clients. And then I really focused on that, and boom, the ALKYWAN crystal came to me through a client. I researched it, felt a connection, thought I can't afford it quite yet, decided to wait. Then I have this dream 4 months later. And I realized, I still have an old trauma that I believe is holding me back. It's time to process it. Immediately, the ALKYWAN crystal spoke to me. It came back to my consciousness. I hadn't thought about it in 2-3 months.
I totally know what you mean about that. I get that a lot recently, actually. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that way of working with the field of consciousness, the dream field, if you want to call it that, but the collective consciousness or the individual dream field. But recently, I think I wonder if it's tied to the activity of the sun as well, because there is the prophesied. The red star prophecy is yet to appear. The blue star prophecy that the Hopi talk about, spoken about for 13,000 years roughly, orally in oral tradition, and passing on their information through story. It's kept its integrity, this prophecy. And the blue star prophecy occurred in 2008. It was a comet that exploded in 2008, and it was a huge blue sphere that was like bigger than the sun, I think, if measured properly. The red star prophecy is yet to happen, but we're like due it, and all the solar activity is going off, and I wonder if, of course, it ebbs and flows throughout this. We won't ever know the precision of it. It's up to Father Sun, and Mother Earth. But I personally feel, just purely personally, intuitively, that it's all tied into that. Like this, because you're talking about Shen as a priority, and that's just before we started speaking. That was the main. I was thinking, what should I, what points should I bring up? Technical points about the subject matter that we might be talking about. But Shen is the only thing that really came to as the priority, and because it feels like that is our priority as a species if we are to transition successfully as souls through these massive changes that are occurring that we knew. I feel we were coming for this shift, and there are so many things that can sabotage us genetically. Oh, sorry, not genetically, energetically. That are new elements here. For instance, the whole 5G thing, all the energetic stuff around us that's part of the polarized consciousness that is who we are really in this particular. It's just how the universe is designed, right? It's polarized, up, down. But as you're talking about the heart and Shen, And that's the unity, what unifies. It's always been in us. It's always been who we are. It's always been what creates that, like you said, that fast change, that almost instantaneous transformation is when we allow ourselves to hear that and align with that wisdom from our heart, from our heart. It's a fractal holographic universe. Anyway, I'm going off. Sorry, I don't mean to rant, but Shen, that's what I was thinking.
No, I mean, what you're talking about ultimately is the most important thing. Even Christian Drapeau, the stem cell scientist, in our next podcast that we've talked about him, he's not as interested in just maximizing stem cells as to be a biohacker, you know, to stay younger longer in this meat suit. You know, that Ramtha calls the body the garment for the spirit. We change garments each lifetime. It's just a garment. And he's like, you know, using stem cells to make your garment a little younger and last longer is not the most important thing. He says, if I live for 250 years or 150 years and I don't realize why I don't learn the real spiritual purpose of why I am here and who am I. If I don't learn that, he says, and I live for 150, 250 years, he said, it's a wasted lifetime. He said, but if I live for only 80 or 90 years and I learn why I'm really, who I really am and why I'm here, now that lifetime was worth it. Now he says things like that because he meditates. He's a spiritual man. He lived in a monastery when he was young. He kind of got pulled into neuroscience, brain work, and then climate moving algae, and then plant stem cell releasers, and decided to make it his job. His stem cells came to him. And when he first realized that climate moving algae could do this much healing, when he studied the anecdotal testimonials of several customers that consumed large amounts of AFA consistently, and they had resolution to a pretty serious medical condition. And then he found out why. It took him years to study it, that it increases their stem cells. Then he thought, well, this is important on a medical level for humanity because stem cells are curative. Allopathic medicine is palliative. Doesn't treat the root cause, doesn't heal the real person. You know what I mean? It just treats the symptoms, and then you take care of the symptoms as best you can, and the person has to live with that condition until it evolves to a point where they die. And that's the difference between curative versus palliative. And Christian Drapeau in 2001 realized, I found something through natural plants, can be released from our own body that everybody has every day, that can actually heal congestive heart failure and save someone's life. So this is an important thing for helping humanity. Is it the more important thing of our purpose on a spiritual level? No. But Christian Drapeau says, if you can use stem cells to improve your health and help you live longer, so during that long lifespan, you have more time to achieve your material goals, to success, take care of your family, provide the money you need to survive and conquer survival, to the degree that now you have free time, and you can conquer the lower consciousness desires that you have in your youth, in your ego, whether it's success, money, fame, family, mates, relationships, whatever, money. When you conquer those and you're still here alive and healthy, and you've lost the same desire of your youth to do those things, if you don't burn up and abuse your brain and damage your Shen too far, that you end up addicted to stuff to numb your Shen for the rest of your life till you croak. If you don't do that, and you're balanced and healthy and have a good brain, the natural evolution as you evolve past all the lower chakra consciousness stuff of our youth, first half of our life, you will start to evolve and look at more of a bigger spiritual picture of life and a meaning. And it's in our latter years, in our retirement years, that we start to seek spiritual teachers, spiritual books, a deeper connection to God, a deeper connection to ourselves. And then we start to find that inner fulfillment, and we start to develop Shen. Shen being the Chinese word for spirit in the three treasure system. There's Jing, which is stem cells, physical body, how long and strong you're going to live. There's Qi, your animated energy, vitality, if you're as long as you're alive in this body. It's chi, chi, chi. Okay. And then there's Shen, the ultimate purpose. And that, the old analogy in Taoism is the three treasure candle analogy. You have a candle, solid wax is the physical substance. And if it's good wax and it's a big, strong candle, it'll last a long lifetime before the candle burns out. The active purpose of the candle is the flame. Okay. And ultimately, how much you use the flame, it's going to consume the candle and burn you out till the candle's gone. But what is the ultimate purpose of the candle? It's the light that it emits. And light is information. To be enlightened, really the definition of that term, people talk about being enlightened all the time. And sometimes it's denoted by, I think, a more Ayurvedic or yogic Hindu definition of that meaning: self-realization, self-realized, or enlightenment, like Buddha or a spiritual being. But the other ascended masters say, I read this once in a book, that the real original definition of the word enlightenment means to be in light of, means to have knowledge, information, all the information, not just pieces that are single-sided based on someone's control or manipulation or goal. And that's why one of my spiritual teachers says knowledge is the best thing you can give another human being. Knowledge based on truth, if applied to your intention, leads to freedom, not victimhood. So lack of knowledge, darkness, is lack of light, not enlightened. And now you don't have that much information. So you make bad choices because you only know what you know. And then you end up being a victim. And that doesn't help your evolution or your success as an organism, even in your body.
But on that, sorry to interrupt. There's one thing about that is that we all have. So if this universe is fractal and holographic, meaning that whatever as above, so below, as within, so without, then truthfully, there is no need for any external information in terms of intellectual information. If there was no choice, we do have everything that has ever existed, will ever exist, is accessible from within us. And you mentioned, like, when we were,
if you can access that,
right,
you're more spiritually intuitive than the average person. So you've kind of known that since you were younger. You felt it. But the average person doesn't know that. They're learning life with a conscious mind only. They're not using the subconscious or accessing their spiritual past lifetime wisdom. They're crawling around as a baby, and they got to learn physical stuff: how to walk, how to talk, how to go to school, how to fit in society. The matrix keeps them so distracted and busy that they don't ever learn and believe in that stuff and develop that skill. So they're looking for conscious mind, practical, logical knowledge. Okay. And there's a lot just in that realm, what I just said there's a lot to learn to be able to fully know the truth about your society, your body, your health, your economy, your choices as a profession, how successful you can be, how to help your family, how to help your body if it has a problem. There's a lot of bits of different pieces of conscious, logical, practical mind information before we even access your past life or your deeper, higher self. Okay. People that are gifted in that realm, they just hold souls. They intuitively feel the right direction when they may not know. But a lot of people they need basic training. They have to learn how to walk and talk and how to navigate the matrix, look both ways when you cross the streets, you don't get hit by a car. These are just basic things for survival. Okay, they're not riding on their spiritual intuition, and they have to develop that. Most people develop that later on in life. Or if they choose to withdraw from the matrix to a certain degree so they can spend time with themselves, be alone and go inward. But that's not the norm. Most people don't have time to ever do that. The matrix is shoved into their mind in their training when they're still little kids. They're watching these devices and YouTube when you're 6 years old and trying to be grown-ups because they're so excited to be in a new body. That get kids, they can't wait to grow up. They want to grow up so fast. They hate being young. They hate being, they want to be grown-ups. Who am I going to be when I grow up? Because they're so excited to be, they're so enamored with the physical. You know, it depends how old the soul is. And as you evolve, you get more. So, but you're absolutely right what you said. But I think most people, there's a lot of information that can help them that's purely physical based to enlighten them to the truth of life, to help them make better choices. Because you got to master the third dimension first before you're going to master the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh. You got to master the first, second, and third dimension, which is physical: reproduction, pain, suffering, victimization, power and control, success, money, survival. You know, if you don't master those things and you get sick, you have no place to live, you have no money, you're hungry, you're starving, you're homeless, that's a huge distraction from the spiritual development, because you have to worry about survival. You have to worry about pain. You have to worry about hunger. You have to worry about, where's my next meal going to come? How am I going to pay my rent? Who's going to help my sick daughter? It's like that. That's all lower chakra, first three dimensions survival stuff. And, you know, and it can get your attention and it can distract people. Some people like you might be able to deal with some of those problems on more of a spiritual level than a physical, but not average people. I work with a lot of people, you know, for health consulting, and it's a wide gamut. And the people that are so beautifully sensitive and gentle like you, with an innate spiritual knowingness inside, intuitive, are rare. They're not average. So I can't give them, the average person that comes to me, if I give them spiritual advice, they're going to discard it immediately. And they're going to discard me. It'll discredit me, and they'll think, oh, he's crazy. I'm not going to pay Torus for a consult. And how's he going to help me? He's crazy. You know what I mean? But if I give them practical, logical, third dimensional advice to enlighten them as to more options, they are intelligent enough to see the value in it and say, oh, okay, I can apply that. That makes sense. You have to build from there, average people.
It makes me think of when I did my body first sort of did a huge cleanse, and the effect of whatever toxins were there. I don't think I had many, but whatever they were, losing them, or yeah, and their energetic signatures as well. One's remembering, one's access to our sort of innate ability to connect to all life everywhere consciously, and also to receive, you know, information. Because our brain is really an antenna, right? It's really a tuner, you know, it's a frequency tuner. And when our nervous system, you've spoke about this really in an illuminating way before, which is how you described the nervous system as sort of it's almost like a light network, and the brain, the golden globe on top. But we're not meant to be clogged up with all this stuff. As obviously there's this huge agenda to clog up our bodies so that we don't have access to our intuition, you know. And so it just made me think of just how that practical approach, by going the physical route with detox, people's spiritual side will emerge anyway. Like they don't need,
Yeah. I mean, the more you master the physical and apply stuff and succeed and get healthier and healthier, and the longer you stay on this planet with a good functioning brain being quantum computer, picks up thought at light speed and receives thought, and it creates reality, meaning there's nothing within the realm of focus that you can't hold that image in your mind steadfast to the ignorance, to the point where you ignore this physical, because the physical that you have right now around you is the past. It's post-manifestational awareness. That's the crowning achievement. You focus on an abstract future that you want to create. It's not yet here. And now you can penetrate that with your mind and your consciousness and hold it, and you can create it. This universe will bring it. And that Saint Germain calls that working through the ethers, you know, to create through the ethers. And I think the longer you live with a healthy brain, don't let your brain age, and first learn your physical lessons and learn how to master physical. And you're developing different parts of the brain with using your hands-eye coordination, learning all these different physical things, and getting more information, but not just taking that information as recycled knowledge, as theory, conjecture, reading from books. Like you go to school and just learn enough to pass exams, but you don't put it into practical life. Taking all the enlightened information pieces that you're getting through your life, especially the first half of your physical aspect of life, and applying that information to actually make it experiential and repeating it until you prove that it works. And now you know it and you create a neuron connection for it. And the more languages you learn, the more instruments you learn to play, these are all physical things. But the more you, but they activate different parts of the brain, different lobes, different areas. And the more you learn all these different things, the more dense the network connection of the brain is. And then when you kind of get bored or you're getting complete with all the physical stuff to learn, it makes it a lot easier to start going multidimensional and learning the spiritual stuff. And so that's what happened to me, like 20 odd years working on a lot of physical stuff with health. And then the last 4 months, I want to get to the next level. And I have enough knowledge in the spiritual teachings and ascended master teachings that I've luckily had other healers turn me on to over the years. And I've read these books and had enough of an intuitive old soul like yourself to realize, oh, this is powerful information. And it's true. I can feel it. I know it. So it has value. So I better listen to this, and I better now start to apply some of these things to my life and not just try to achieve everything with my health through physical measures only. I better start activating and utilizing my spiritual gifts. We all have spiritual gifts. The longer you live, and yes, you detox, you get a healthier, cleaner mind, the more we can start to, by accident, kind of, or no accident, you find these spiritual gifts and they activate within you. Whether you start learning to project chi from your pericardium point, and you can do qigong, and then one day you end up a qigong healer and you can dissolve breast tumors with your hand, not even touching a woman, with 30 minutes 3 times a week, and then she's cured, like Dr. Liu does in Hawaii, who's a famous qigong healer.
Oklahoma.
I forget his last name. I have his book called Mastering Miracles.
I read it after I heard you talk about it.
Yeah. Great book. Great story. Amazing story. So all of us have these gifts just waiting for us. Okay. But, when you're a child and you're preoccupied with playing Legos and going to school and swiping a smartphone, you're not sitting in a cave doing qigong on your meridians for hours a day like Dr. Liu did to learn how to project qi. You're doing other stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just your choice of how you're using your time at that point in your life. But you're not going to play with Legos forever. You're going to outgrow them and get bored and kind of move on and want to get into something else. It's an evolution. You go from Legos, maybe you get into bikes, and then you get into this thing, you get into that thing. Eventually, if you live long enough and you keep the brain clean and get healthy and don't destroy yourself and don't damage your shen and just get smarter and smarter and smarter, eventually you're going to start, everyone is going to increase talents that they have. They start to come from the spiritual realm, whether they're an artist and they're just getting really good at painting, whether they're a genius with math and their mind's developing this ability to do complex equations that average people can't do. And they see a pattern, a Saint geometry in this, a sacred geometry in this. And as they develop that gift, they suddenly start to be someone who creates something that's good for the world that helps a lot of people. Whether they invent desalinization technology or muon catalyzed fusion because they're just a great scientist. It started off all physical, but it became multidimensional, it became spiritual as they evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. That's why you got to do what you love. If you're trying to get good at something, not because you love it for the fun of it, just because you think you should or someone else wants you to do it, or you're not going to stick with it long enough to develop those spiritual gifts. You're going to be bored. It's not true. That's why you got to truly cut out the fluff from the matrix enough to go inside and say, who am I? Why am I here? What do I like? Am I attracted to science, or am I attracted to math? Am I attracted to language? Am I attracted to music? Am I attracted to spirituality right off the bat? Am I attracted to physical? Am I attracted to epigenetics, to genes? Am I attracted to nutrition? Am I attracted to quantum physics? It's all Legos. It's all playground. It's all stuff to play and learn and build upon and evolve and evolve and evolve that we use and that we learn from the law of association. As we make connections in the brain, we master something. Then when we get bored of it, we move on to the next thing. We use those old connections from other things we learn to more quickly learn the next thing we get into. So it took you a long time to get really good at Legos. And then when you get bored of Legos and you move on to the next thing, you're actually going to get better at the next hobby even faster. And this is something I did as a kid. I had such an active, innate fantasy world growing up as a hippie without much TV, going to school late, and a lot of free time to use my imagination as a child, that I got really deeply into every single hobby I went through at every stage of my life. When I got into health, it was my next hobby. I just got way into it, which ended up inadvertently getting me really good with, and every hobby I get into, I love it. I don't get into the hobby because I think I have to because I'm sick. It's like I love it in the end when I really get into the hobby. And then the health hobby kind of inadvertently got me into a spiritual hobby because the healers I met turned me on to stuff. And then I'm like, wow, health is not just physical. There's an aspect of health that comes from the spiritual realm. Well, now that I've learned everything about the physical realm, well, I want to learn the spiritual aspects of health because then I can get even better results. It's expanding my hobby. And then a new hobby's formed. And you just keep going. If you love what you do, everyone that loves what they do that keeps doing it will become brilliant at it. And then they offer something to the world and they accelerate their own ascension. If you live long enough without aging, and stem cells can help you, Jing can help you, nutrition can help you take care of this body, because you got to live long enough with this one Golden Globe computer before it croaks, because everything it's learned on its neural net on a physical level is going to go back to the soil and the worms when you die and you're buried underground and you rot your physical body. The pearls of wisdom, the emotional treasure, is there in the soul, goes with you into the next lifetime. You'll have that in the next lifetime. And you'll have an innate intuition. If you evolve further each lifetime, I believe, from everything I learned, your next lifetime, you will gain the wisdom on an intuitive level, but you don't have the conscious mind memory in the next lifetime. If you spoke French fluently and Spanish and English and Japanese, and you were a virtuoso on the piano violin, like Saint Germain, you could speak 9 languages fluently. And if you not yet an avatar reached a level of a master who can bring all their spiritual gifts in the next lifetime in the conscious mind, if you're more like average people, when you croak and that brain dies and rots to the earth, and you wait 1 to 200 years in earth time before you reincarnate into the next body, you're not going to remember all those languages. You're not going to remember how to walk and talk. You're not going to remember how to drive a car. You're not going to remember how to play the piano and the violin. You have to relearn it. But if you connect, you can relearn it faster than you did last lifetime. And if you connect, you can pick up the wisdom. You can just feel it and listen. Oh, I want to do this in my life. I don't need to do that stuff. I did that in past lifetimes. I'm not interested in the Legos anymore. I want to jump a little further higher up the ladder and get into this at a young age, because I remember. But it's an intuitive level. If you're so busy with the matrix coming with so much information, an older soul that has some gifts may not have the time to go inward and listen and feel that and find it for themselves. They're too distracted with what their parents make them do when they're so young. It's like, but if it's strong, the intuition feeling, they'll rebel. They'll automatically just not do what their parents want them to do. And they'll follow their path because they know they may even leave their parents when they're young because they know this is not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends how strong that inner connection is. Depends if there's trauma when they're young, if they have issues with insecurity, with confidence, but brain health is important because that's what processes the consciousness. So anyhow, I felt the call to get the ALKYWAN crystal after my dream. I woke up like 3 days ago. I watched the 15-minute video to learn a little bit more about it online, and I just started thinking about the money situation. Like, technically saving for my book, I shouldn't spend this much money right now, but I feel the need. I need this. And then when I started to realize it's a sentient being, I can use it like a magic crystal ball, like Merlin, and put my hands on it and send intention. It's going to help me manifest my book faster. It's going to help me heal clients faster. It's going to help me evolve. I was like, okay, now I'm realizing the value of this. And I think and then when I realized it's sentient, I started to go, oh my God, it's talking to me. How can I say no? How can I refuse it? And then guess what? Within less than an hour, I go check my other computer on the email. I had an unsuspecting $1,000 commission on something, on a Rife machine referral that I sold some. And then I was like, whoa. And then I thought back a couple of PayPals that I got from some other orders or sales. And I was like, well, that's another 500. I just paid half. I just paid half the money for it. So I said, truth, just, and then I started thinking, well, should I get the cheap crystal? Should I get the middle-sized crystal? Should I, I should be conservative with my money. And I started researching the crystals, trying to find an excuse. This is based on lack. Trying to find an excuse to tell myself truth, buy the cheap one for $700 now, the manifester. And then later on, after your book is done, buy the big one for the clinic, and then try working with that. But the more research I started to do, I started to say, no, I'm researching these things and I'm so clean. And I've been already doing so much spiritual work. I'm on a level based on what I'm learning about these crystals that I'm ready for the strongest one. So why hold back? It's like, so boom, I manifested that money. And that was enough of an excuse to realize that I paid for half the darn crystal already. And later on, after researching the crystal more, I realized the crystal did that. The crystal sent me that $1,000. It has the consciousness because to give me the excuse to buy the big one now and not mess around.
I would imagine be like a collaboration of the crystal and your higher self.
Yeah. It happens. Can happen quite often. Things like this, because this thing has a consciousness, and it knows I'm with the work I'm doing on myself, spiritually and physically. It knows I'm ready to work with it. It wants to work with me. It wants me to utilize it to help me help myself go up higher and help more people. And I already know the money is justified because I put it in the space. It's going to raise the vibration in the entire Jing clinic. It's going to help my clients have a more powerful experience when they come here. From everything I've read, just put it in anyone's space, even if they're not spiritual at all, even if they don't work with it and do intentions, they're going to get healthier. They're going to get younger. And there's even science proving how it removes viruses from people's bloodstream or parasites. Like, whoa, this is like
ALKYWAN.
ALKYWAN. ALKYWAN crystal. But for someone like you who's working already from the lighter realms with spiritual gifts, sky's the limit with this crystal if you got one and started working with it. As far as your acceleration, your spiritual gifts, your ascension, your own personal healing, and how you can help others. So I'm very excited that I got it. It's going to be a new addition in the program. It's going to take things up faster. And you know what's crazy? Right after I ordered it, as soon as I would just think about the crystal, because I just made this big purchase, I felt a consciousness shift. I felt an improvement in my being. Like I'm already getting its energy. It's already working with me. I've already got it. Like it's like it. Wow, it's powerful change. Yeah. And this is just one thing, just one tool. Once we get to the highest level, we don't need any tools, but one tool that is a gift. And there's so many tools. I love it. This is what's so fun about playing with where we're at here in this earth experience in the body as we're working towards ascension and manifesting all the things that bring us joy and we desire. And as we fulfill our heart with enough joy on the lower mid-dimensional stuff, the natural evolution is to go up the stairway to heaven and go for the higher consciousness, to start to know God, to start to become God, realized in man. And so, yes, the Shen, the ultimate purpose is the Shen. It's a very simple analogy, the three treasure analogy. But they go hand in hand. I will tell you, times of my life when my Shen was disturbed and I did not feel like living. I felt even open to the concept of leaving this body, like suicide. I then realized that there's no point. I'm kind of all or nothing. Some people know that. I can be a little extreme. I thought there's no point in being here in a physical body, attempting to live whatever life you're going to live, if I'm Shen disturbed, if I'm depressed, or I'm not happy, or I'm harboring guilt or shame over some bad activities that I personally got addicted to in my personal life, or if I've harmed others, if I feel I've harmed others, consciously or unconsciously, you start to feel a level of self-disgust on the spiritual soul level. And then suddenly I don't give a shit about longevity or stem cells or health or anti-aging,
That's
because
good.
I don't want to be here that long. I want to be released from the prison, because I know I'll get freed up of a lot of that and I get to start over. Because ultimately I'm not a bad person. I just got off track. But you know what, Max? The last 4 months where I'm at right now, how good I feel. I just did my 3 liters of structured hydrogen water. I did systemic enzyme, did my cold structured shower from the well. I've done my whole program perfectly since we did our last call. I feel so good in my body right now on just a physical level, like a kid, like a little kid in love with life, so pure and innocent. I feel so good and so brilliant. My mind works so sharp. My memories, I'm like a genius. I feel so good. I want to stick around. I want to live. Okay. But I'm wise enough. I know part of the reason I feel good is because of my spiritual hygiene. My karma is good. I'm giving, I'm helping people. I love what I'm doing. I have no vices left. I'm following my program perfectly. I've cut out all the superfluous fluff or the bad things I've done in my life. I feel like I've transmuted the bad things I've done. So I feel pure. And plus the detoxification, the spiritual work I'm doing, the health of my physical body, I feel purified physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all as one. I feel like a purified being. My cells are zinging in ecstasy. But I know it's not just my cells that are making me feel so good. I know that my chakras are wide open because I did the cloud meditation this morning. I don't even have to do the 5 rites every day anymore because the cloud meditation has gotten so strong. With just 5 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day, even 1 to 2 minutes, if I pull up the cloud with full power and it starts to burn the light through me and I keep it going, when I come out, I know, because when I go to do the rites after the cloud, the first rite is the spinning. And the first rite, the spinning, is designed to open all the chakras at once. So if your chakras are closed, the spinning is the hardest for people. When I first teach people the rites, they've never done anything to open their chakras, and I try to get them to spin. They have to stand up with the arms out, fingers together, the thumbs out, focus on the left thumb. They'll turn from the left hand to the right. Okay. They go slowly. They do 5, 7 spins. They get dizzy fast. They go, oh, going to fall over at the end. And then somehow, maybe 20%, 10% of the time, they get a little nauseous and sick after the spinning. Within 15 minutes, within an hour, within 3 hours, I've had a few clients throw up because their chakras are so closed, and the chakras are closed with junk. The chakras are jammed tight with toxic stuff, toxic energetic stuff. Okay. And they just try to crack open their chakras and open up and release some of this toxic energy. And it literally can make the body sick sometimes and nauseous. I know I've taught, I think hundreds of people in the Pan Pacific Park across the street from ALKYWAN was my favorite place back in the day. I've taught so many people the 5 rites. I've read every single book, and I've got an activation connection with them. So I'm like probably the best teacher in the world for activating the 5 rites into a new student, someone who's never done it before. And I've done all kinds of people. I've done clients' moms who are not into health at all. They just eat a standard American diet their whole life, and they're a nice person. But their son is like so blown away with the 5 rites as I taught them. They're like, Truth, will you teach my mom? And I teach this guy's mom, she's 60 years old, but she looks fit, 15, 20 minutes after the 5 rites. I let her do 10 to 15 reps of each one. She wanted to impress me with all the advanced tips that I teach that make the rites so powerful. She vomited twice and then went into the bathroom at ALKYWAN and had diarrhea. And she came out, and we're all looking at her at the tonic bar, like going, whoa, like Truth just detoxed you. Like, I didn't do it. The 5 rites did it. Well, I helped. They're that powerful energetically. So I know how fast I can spin when I do rite number 1. It's based on how open and clean my chakras are and how big and wide open they are, so that there's no resistance to the prana coming into the chakras. Okay. If there's resistance, you get stagnation, you get dizzy. So I know what it feels like on a daily basis if I'm not doing the cloud. I know how fast I can spin, how many spins I can do. I do the 33 spins, not the 21 like the normal teachings of the 5 rites. Because in Bringers of the Dawn, channeled by Barbara Marciniak for the Pleiadians, there's a little sentence, if you read that book carefully, where they give you a tip. They say, oh, by the way, if you spin 33 times, 3 times a day, you cannot stay in the 3rd dimension. Anyone who does that will activate your multidimensional DNA upper chakras. You'll be a multidimensional being. When I read that, I was in 2005 or 6. It stuck with me. I said, well, I'm already spinning, but I'm doing 21 spins 1 to 2 times a day based on if I do the rites twice a day or once. So I just increased it from 21 to 33. And they added the tips where you put your fingers together, your thumbs out while you're spinning, and you focus on the left thumbnail the entire time you're spinning. You do not spot, and you count your turns. And when you're done spinning, you stop quickly, palms together, elbows out, pressure, and you stay there until all the dizziness is completely gone. So those are the tips. They don't teach you this in the 5 rites. They don't teach you this in the thumbnail. Okay. And I take my tongue and I close the microcosmic circuit. I touch my upper palate between my gums and my teeth with the tongue touching there. So the chi is coming up the spine, coming around here, coming down to these chi points, the kundalini. It can cross that circuit easier. So I got my tongue there, my fingers like this, boom, I spin 33 times. So when I hadn't been doing the cloud for some years. Something made me go back into it just like 6 weeks ago. Okay, a month maybe. And once you learn to activate the cloud, when I read the book, 2007, I set the timer 18 minutes morning and evening. My conscious mind didn't know if it's real. I mean, is this really going to happen? Truth. All the things that Saint Germain said will happen when you activate the cloud. I want to believe it. The book had such an impression on me. It was a spiritual cleansing, like going to church, like a deep session of going to church. I hadn't gone in a long time. So it activated an integrity in my soul, reading the book. It took me up to a higher moral code spiritually. I understood more the power of my words, my thoughts, my interactions, how I act with people, because of the karma of everything. The purpose of being a spiritual person. The book really re-emphasized that in my life. And then I was given this gift, this little technical tool on how to do this technique called building the cloud meditation. And he told what it can do, its potential. And I thought, that sounds cool. Sounds like it's not that hard, couldn't take that long. I'd like to add it to my program. But I was like, it sounds nefarious. Like, I don't know if it's going to work or not. Just doing what he said, build this cloud, these dimensions for this long. But I thought, the book has blown me away. How am I going to know if I don't try? So I did exactly what he said. I set a timer for 18 minutes in the morning and the timer 18 minutes at night, right before bed. And I did it every day for like 2 months. And I was thinking of giving up because I was going, truth, I'm busy. I got to work at ALKYWAN. I got a schedule. I got my physical tools in my program. Nothing's happening with the cloud yet. So I don't know if it's going to work for me. So maybe I should just stop because I'm wasting time here. But the book had enough impact on me. I'm like, don't give up just yet. Let's just go a little bit longer and see what happens. And then one day, normally I build one side of the cloud, I lose the other. I build the bottom part of the sphere, I lose the top. I'm moving around trying to create this 6-dimensional sphere in my mind and hold all the particles in it. One day, suddenly, vroom, the left side came up, vroom, the right side came up, and I could hold both, and then the top and the bottom, and I built the entire sphere with all the light particles in it spinning at the radius dimension, according to the book. And I was held it. And as soon as I did that, suddenly, my breathing went up. I could not control it. I started breathing fast and deep through my nose. I'm sitting there meditating, eyes closed on my bed like I normally do, 18 minutes morning, evening. My breathing went up fast. I couldn't control it. My facial muscles kind of went up like a kundalini reaction. I felt my body stand up straight and tall, like my spine became an arrow or like a needle. Doing, kundalini starting to activate, breathing fast and heavy. And I felt this like wash, light, like high vibration. Like, I can't describe it. It's not physical. I felt it come through me. And it made my whole vibration, but my cells just started to speed up like crazy. And I'm going, oh my God, something's happening to me. Something's happening to me. This is amazing. Okay, just hold it, hold it, hold it. See the sphere, see the sphere. It's so intense. I could only go for like a minute. And then I had to drop the cloud because I was physically exhausting from the breathing and the energy so high. Once that happened to me, ever since then, for the rest of my life, since I was 37 years old, all I have to do is sit down cross-legged in a quiet place, close my eyes, and start to construct the cloud. And within seconds, it pulls up to that same crescendo of light where my breathing goes up, the kundalini activates, and I feel the light, and it burns anything toxic through me. I never get sick on this program, I do. But in 2013, I was doing an MME treatment on the brain with the magnetic thing, and I was experimenting, and I did something wrong, and I killed some brain tissue. I had a toxic, but and then I felt a cold and flu kicking in, like I'm getting really sick. And I got scared. I had clients I was also helping there at the clinic at the same time. And it feels like I'm going to have a 2-week flu in bed. I'm like, that's not good. I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? I started to do a foot bath, put my feet in the ionic foot bath, and thought maybe I can detox this flu if I do a strong one, 5.5 amps for 40 minutes. I'm sitting there. It's not really helping. And then suddenly it came to me. I thought, the cloud. I haven't done the cloud in a few years. Like I've taken breaks on and off from the cloud. From 2007 all the way through 2010, I did the cloud every single day on my lunch breaks at Air One. Right after the 5 rights, which was right after my lunch that I would eat. But there was a period for a few years, 11, 12, 13, I stopped doing the cloud. I'm getting sick. I'm desperately trying to stop this. I can feel the flu cold coming in. It's going to be a bad one. And I can't afford to take the time to get sick. So I suddenly thought, the cloud, I got to do the cloud, but I just got to pull it up hard. And normally when the cloud comes to full power, I've never held it longer than 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes max when I wanted to manifest that car. When I manifested that car, I pulled up the cloud full strength, held it on all the light and all dimensions, and I brought the car that I knew I wanted, a 2007 Volkswagen Golf GTI in silver, because I saw the ads on the posters on the street. And I thought, I like that car. I used to have an old model of that car back in the 80s or 90s that I liked. And the new one looks pretty cool, the Mach 5. So I bought that car into the thing, and that's what I had within a few weeks. Okay. And I have no credit from when I got sick. I ruined my credit. I could never get a car on lease or anything like that with payment plan. But this client just did it for me with their finance company. And I had the car like that. Boom. So anyhow, I'd never gone longer than 5 minutes doing the cloud. And here I am in 2013, working at the clinic with like 3 clients there that are on the other machines. And I got to coach them. And there's a doctor and a nurse there. I can't afford to get a flu and get sick. I made a mistake that caused this flu. So I'm doing a foot bath. It's not going away. And then I remember the cloud. So I pulled up the cloud. My desire to stop this flu was so strong that I pulled up the cloud to full power. And I held it for like 15 minutes. I've never gone that long because it's so intense. And I felt it around the 10, 12, 13-minute mark. The light literally burned the flu out of my system, and it was gone. Everything opened up. My sinus was like, I was jumping for joy. I came out of the foot bath. I went back to help all my clients. Felt amazing. It's powerful. Every injury site I've had in my body that's not fully healed, when I pull the cloud up strong and do a long one, I feel the cells just start to vibrate like crazy in that spot trying to heal it. And when I come out of the cloud, everything's glowing. I feel lightness. I feel happy. I feel pure. But this is what I was telling you about. When I go to do the 5 rights after the cloud, because I just got back on the cloud, wasn't doing it for a few years again. I started a month ago doing it 3 times a day, twice a day at least. I went to do the rights after the cloud. First thing you do is right number 1, the spinning. As soon as I started trying to do my 33 spins, which can be a little bit challenging sometimes, I teeter-totter, I lose a little balance, I move around a different spot on the floor while I'm spinning. When I stop, there's a little bit of dizziness. I have to wait so many seconds before it goes away. This time when I went to spin, I spun so fast, like a helicopter, like a propeller. And my feet did not move. I was in the exact same spot. It was so easy. I spun faster than normal. I didn't move at all. And when I stopped, boom, there was no dizziness at all. I just felt amazing. And I go, whoa, that tells me, I know from experience with the rights, my chakras are already wide open to max. I don't even need to do the spinning. Maybe it adds a little something. I don't know. Couldn't feel that. And why are my chakras so open? That doesn't normally ever happen for me. And I'm pretty good at spinning compared to most people. And I'm like, oh, it's the cloud. That's how powerful the cloud is, just in 1, 2 minutes.
This is interesting, the cloud, because it reminds me of, I mean, it sounds identical to Leonardo's sphere, the Leonardo sphere, which is the school that I sort of aligned with personally in around 2011. Yeah, so the cloud sounds really similar or identical in terms of the geometry and the energetics of it, and I would say the geometry of it, the biogeometry of it around the body, to the when I was in 2011, I started studying with the School of Remembering, which had just started in 2011. So it was like modern day mystery school created by Trumbull and Melchizedek, and the that it's many years of a body of work that sort of was being synthesized at that time into the most effective version of itself with some new information. And the Leonardo's canon, that image that Leonardo da Vinci drew of the excuse my armpits, of the man with his it's called Leonardo's canon, and it's a man with his arms and legs out,
Oh
and
yeah, that's famous. Yeah.
very famous, yeah. And it's, but the geometry around it is real. That's our biofield. And of course, he was a Mason. He was like a super high, the highest level kind of Mason. He knew all of the mystery school information, and he was imprinting it and imparting it through all of his amazing gifts and skills. And I mean, he was something else. And but that geometry, there's a one rare image of that same image, but it has the macabre. It has the inverted star tetrahedron around it, or superimposed star tetrahedron, which is the macabre, as the Hebrew tribe called it, which counter-rotating field of light, which it rotates at a very specific frequency of light. And it sounds like that's what you were doing, because in that meditation school, that's kind of the path that I followed, and I'm still embodying that work, really. I still do that. It sounds that like they're superimposed almost identically. So yeah, I'm really interested to learn more about that.
Yeah. Well, this started off as an intro to the stem cell talk. I just wanted to share the ALKYWAN crystal with you, but I think we just made a separate podcast.
Yeah, I think so. I think we went straight. Maybe it's our nature. I don't know. I don't want to don't want to. I don't want the spiritual ego to enter, but we've both gone straight to the Shen.
Yeah.
And you do embody what you're talking about with the channeling. You're like you're a clear channel, and what we were talking about so what you took time out from society, out of the matrix. I did too in pretty much the whole of my 20s, and the benefit of that for ourselves and others is there is a high potential to bring something back that can. It's not better than what anyone else can do or anything like that. It's just that it's unique. There is something in there that is unique, because the vast majority of people do receive pretty heavy programming, and we all did from birth, but I don't know. Just I think there's a portion of us that maybe, for whatever reason, we found a way out of that and then back, and we remembered enough to be able to bring something useful back.
I think there's magic for all of us to work with and access. And when you start to play with that magic in a positive way, good magic, it adds a whole new aspect to your life that's so purposeful, so fun, so enriching. You still do your physical things in life too, but when you have magical alchemy on higher dimensional light work to work with, whether it's affirmations or meditation or whatever you're working with, there's so many different spiritual tools that anyone can start with right now and add to their life. And it immediately sets you free of the limitation of the physical, to know I'm not just a physical being. I'm also a spiritual being. And there are spiritual tools I can access right now that I can use to make my life better, to improve my health, to attract what I want, and I really do believe that we live in such a limitless multidimensional reality that at this geographic position that you may be on planet Earth right now, in this body, through your focus, your consciousness, your vibration, you can choose to live in whatever world you want to create. by what your belief systems you set, what you focus on, and the way you speak, your words are your power. So you could believe that there's underground bases and abductions and next COVID's coming, and the world economy is going to crash worse than 1931, the Great Depression, and if you focus too much on things you don't want, you're so powerful that you'll go to that dimension, that space, and you will live those experiences, interact, because they are a truth on one dimension. But guess what? In the same place, on the same planet, there's another dimension where no one's experiencing any of those things. And there's freedom, and there's bliss, and there's health, and there's abundance. So you have to be careful what you focus on, what you want. When you know the truth of your power, that all power lies within, and I'm a multidimensional being, and you can have anything, and you can create any reality. You don't have to, because a lot of people that get into the alternative scene, they get into conspiracy theory stuff, and maybe they get into some spiritual things, and they're working on some physical health stuff too. And the fear of COVID, I think, might have woke up some people to embrace some of these things I just listed, to get them kind of out of the matrix a little bit and learn some truths about conspiracy theory. And it goes all the way out to the dark fraction Anunnaki, at war with the good fraction and the original fellowship of the family of light and the Pleiadians, and the Council of 12, the top 12 ascended masters that are trying to help less control on humanity and allow us to wake up. And they're sending light rays to activate us. You know, if this gets deep, you read Bringers of the Dawn, you start to understand what's going on if you trust the source. I trust the source. From 1988, Barbara Marciniak has been giving some good information through higher beings. So when you realize the multidimensionality of it, it's pretty cool because it's limitless, and you don't ever have to be a victim of lack or disease or calamity going on in society that is outside of your power. I mean, you got to have common sense and try to avoid things that are going to screw you up in the short term physically. And that's normal. And the more developed you take care of the brain, the more sensitive you are, the more clean, the more in touch with your inner being you are, the more you'll feel common sense. And no, go here, work with this person, don't work with this person, or date this person, don't date that person. And the more you get smarter, those are good. You need some common sense. It's for survival, it's basics. But when you start to learn your spiritual unlimitedness, and you start to play with magic, embracing some spiritual tools, whichever ones come to you, just pray, just ask, just send out the intention. Something's going to come. If you're true, if you mean it, if you're really desiring, you're seeking it, because we all have higher beings from the non-physical that love us, that are overlooking us, that open that portal of light when we leave this body, when we pass away, so that we can go into the light, whether it's deceased loved ones, angels, spirit guides, masters, you name it. Every book I've read so many, from being around the world to Brazil, and different healing temples, and understanding and reading different books from different ascended masters, and getting a better grasp of all this stuff, of reincarnation, ascension, of the beings that are in the non-lighter realms that we can't see, that assist us or work with us, or the entities that are not helping us, that are kind of making life rough, that are riding you like an attached spirit or an obsessor. And how do we clear that stuff? You know, the ALKYWAN crystal helps clear entities, attached spirits, obsessive spirits. That's powerful. That's good for clients. And I have a crystal chakra bed from the Casa Dom Ignacio. And for some people that are not spiritually activated, it's just calming. It's different light cut through a wand crystal. One adjusts to each chakra. They lay on the table. It makes them real calm. They just go to bed. But it actually works through the chakras, the aura, the energy body system. And for a few clients that are already spiritually gifted, whoa, we find out right away. Because they're like, okay, I'll try the crystal bed truth. They don't know it's going to do anything. And oh my gosh, they come out of their 1 hour and they take off their eye mask. They're all in white clothes, because black blocks the chakras, or it blocks the ability of the entities that come through the bed to see through your aura and see into your body. The spiritually gifted people, and I know a few clients that I can tell you about, Oh my gosh. They come out of the crystal bed session and they start talking a mile a minute, going, oh my God, I went here. I went to this dimension. I went to this realm. I met my deceased mother. We had a conversation. We patched up some stuff. I met my angels. I met my spirit guides. They told me I got to do this. I got to do this. It was like they go on and on and tell stories for a few hours. This never happened to me before. I can't believe it. Like I connected to the divine with this tool, this instrument, this crystal bed. And I'd sit there back as their health coach, go, wow, their life coach, and go, that is so cool. I'm so glad I got this crystal bed. Even if it doesn't do that much for 80, 90% of my clients, they just calms them down a little bit and they sleep better. It's like the people that it does work for, whoa, amazing, because they can't get that anywhere else. It's just a tool that the entities of the Casa Dominatio, King Solomon being the first one that incorporated through medium Jehovah, they sent the plans to build this contraption as a channel tool, a portal for the entities, the healing entity spirits from the Casa Dominatio to come through the crystals, through the chakra, into the person lying on the table. And clean entities, clean spirits, do psychic surgeries and heal things and clean their field, remove attacked spirits and energy cords. And so they feel clean and balanced and open and get some healing after each session. I got one of those. But all I'm trying to say here in closing this great podcast with you is that there are a plethora, endless tools that are here to help us access the magic. And we all, even without tools, we all have the power within. But when you don't know this yet, you're still got your training wheels on and you're in the matrix just growing. We need to learn stuff. So it's good to have a teacher or to read some of these books to help activate, help guide you to what things, and start to become aware, conscious that you have access to magic, that I am a multidimensional spiritual being. We need to be aware first that that's a truth, that I'm not just this animal meat sack, physical body with a social security number, and these are my parents, this is how much money I make, this is my ethnicity, this is where I live, this is my education, that's as good as it gets. Now it's just death and taxes, all you have to look forward to until you croak. No, 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 no. There's so much more. And when you know that there's more, and you find some tools and you start to play with them and get good, and then have some experiences that are spiritual, multidimensional. And now you can work with those in addition to your physical life. Now physical life is much more interesting, much more fun to work with. And your spiritual hygiene, your cleanliness, your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your actions, keeping your chakras clean and open, they're a big part of my daily life. It's just like people don't leave the house without brushing their teeth, having a cup of coffee or eating breakfast, and putting some clothing on, because you're not supposed to walk around the matrix naked. It's not allowed. There's certain rules we all follow. People don't leave the house without doing those basic things. For me, I don't leave the house without using I have a very special water spa shower filter that runs through a very special structured unit that has energetics and crystals through it that are powerful. I don't leave the house without doing that shower, without doing the cloud meditation. So I have spiritual hygiene. My light quotient is high. My aura field is big and strong. And I had my Jing tonic herbs, so my physical body is strong. And my mind is trained on positive thoughts. I did my create my day morning speech, which takes like 5-7 minutes of slow, long affirmations of everything I intend the quantum field to bring me this day. You say loud, slow, and clear. This day, I intend. And you access the field. And I do it in between a scalar unit, scalar transmitter receiver. Because I believe any meditation affirmations you do in the scalar field, it homeopathically sends your energy that you just did out into the universe to make it happen quicker. So like my assistant, for instance, who moved to join me, to help me with my clients, moved from Southern California, met several states away, had 2 house cats. One of them got out in the winter during the move, when they first moved. And they love their cats. It's like their children. My assistant and his partner. So they were devastated. The cat's out in the snow in the winter. It's never been outside before. It's in a foreign state, just off the U-Haul unpacking. My cat could die. Like, Truth, what do I do? What do I do? So I said, I want you to get a piece of paper, a card. I want you to do the focus card in the scalar unit. You're going to manifest your cat. And you're going to draw a line art simple drawing with a black ballpoint pen or some crayons. If you use 2 different colors, even better. But you can use a pen. 4x5 thick, 8x10 inch. What do you call it? A2, A3, A4. I forget in England. A4, normal letter size piece of paper, but thick cardstock, nice piece of paper. Draw a simple line art drawing that's not too complicated that represents your cat coming back. Okay. And stare at the drawing for a while until you can memorize, close your eyes and see the drawing in your mind's eye, in your frontal lobe, just hanging in space clearly. Once you can do that, now I'll give you the scalar unit, transmitter, receiver. You're going to sit down with a timer for 1 hour. Each of you, man and wife, okay? At separate times of the day, you're going to overlap. And you're going to sit between the transmitter and you're going to call up the drawing, the image that you drew, and you're going to stare at it in frontal lobe with no thought. Let your mind calm down. Don't think about the cat. Don't think about going to the bathroom or your food or your job or your husband or your wife or your email. Don't think about anything. Try to stop time and become the image. See it like a facsimile brazed in space with your eyes closed in the scalar unit. And set a timer. And you're going to mess up at first because you're not trained with your mind how to go into single-minded quantum holographic focus. Abraham Hicks says 67 seconds of pure uninterrupted focused thought on one subject matter starts the beginning of the manifestation activation. But we're taking this further. We're doing a lot longer than 68 seconds. Okay. So they each did like an hour, 3 times a day. And they take turns. The next person and his partner, she would go for an hour and do the focus card. She did her own drawing. Okay. And they did that. And they got their, it took a month. They got their cat back. And a neighbor contacted them in a miraculous way and said, your cat was terrified. I found it under my deck. It wouldn't come when I called it. It wouldn't do anything, but I put out food for it. And the cat lost weight. It had some PTSD, was traumatized, but the cat was alive and well. And we got the cat back. I made some Jing cat food mash sardines with deer placenta, royal jelly, a little deer antler drops, and some Klamath blue green algae. And we mashed up, we made a superfood. We rejuvenated this cat fast and put him on a program, amber toast, glyconutrient stem cells. And, but that's a cool story. How people are desperate that love their cat. And they don't know, maybe the cat's still alive. It's been a few weeks, truth, and it's wintertime and it's an indoor cat. It's never been up here. It doesn't, there's a chance it could die. You know what I mean? And I want my cat to come back. And I'm like, it's up to the universe, my friends. But what if you are the observer within you that is an eternal soul of God? What if you are a part of the universe? You have that power. Well, then let's use an ancient mystery school technique. Just draw a facsimile, a line art drawing. It's very simple. Stop mind, stop thought. Let your ego die. There's no you. There's no personality self. Your job for 1 hour while that timer's going is to see the symbol, imprint it on the frontal lobe, midbrain, lower cerebellum, drive that symbol out your 7 layers of aura bands. The longer you stare at it with that level of consciousness, you'll drive it all the way to the void, to point zero, to source. And when you drive it clear enough to source, the universe knows where your cat is. It knows how to bring it to you in a plethora of ways. And they did that. And ever since they did that, when they want something, they say, I want to go back to the focus card again. Because they learned that they can create reality by drawing a picture and staring at it, the right state of consciousness. That's an intention. That's a meditation with a purpose. To get something that you might need at this point in time in the physical realm. It's pretty darn cool. I've done that technique many times. Saved my life. When I went to zero sleep for 3 months after I got electrocuted in 2013. The angels, they came into me and they told me to do that technique that I could heal myself. And lo and behold, I did. It worked. I did 5 hours a day. For 2 weeks straight, at the end of every day in my journal, I wrote down how many hours I clocked. And I averaged 5 hours a day for 2 weeks. When I hit 60 hours total focus time on the card, boom, I manifested a miracle. I would have never known in a million years it existed. The solution to my situation, which was serious, life-threateningly serious. And I've used the technique to manifest a racehorse, and I manifest the technique to manifest a relationship, and I manifest the technique to manifest a car. Some of these things I realized later after I had them that I just wanted to de-manifest them and I didn't actually want it. But, that's why we're here, to learn, to grow. Find spiritual tools, access the magic. And now life gets a lot more fun and interesting. It's not so monochromatic. It's not so singly dimensional, much more interesting. And then people don't get bored, because a lot of people give up on their health or their dreams or don't want to live that long because they get bored. A lot of people get slowly addicted just to pass time. They don't really know who they are while they're here. And let other people slowly coerce them into creating their reality. Oh, live this lifestyle, follow this dreams, do this job, watch this reality, go to school, get this degree. I don't know what to do, so I might as well. Okay. That's not going to be rewarding and fulfilling at the end. You got to go inward and know the greatest questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Am I more than just this body? If so, what is the more? Let's learn about it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so true what you said though, just there. If we don't create our own reality, someone else will, basically.
Because we live in a free will zone, planet Earth. Everything goes. Everything goes, free will. But let's turn it around. No victimhood, responsibility. If we live in a free will, and I have the power of God flowing through this quantum computer that can pick up thought at light speed and focus on anything and manifest anything I can imagine in my mind. If anything you can hold focus to and imagine in your mind, you can create it. Whoa. That's a powerful statement. That's the power of a sovereign being in a physical four-layer bio bodysuit in a free will plane called Earth. Well, then let's get down to business and do it. Let's stop this slow creation. Abraham Hicks says, patience is just resignation to slow manifestation. If you're manifesting so slow in your life that you're stuck and you're dissatisfied, you're not going anywhere, well, that's not good. You're going to get disappointed. You're going to give up. You're going to be unhappy. When you learn, you can create your own reality. And that's your actual responsibility, your purpose, to learn how to do that. And it doesn't matter what other people create. You take your power back. Stop letting them television tells you what to vision, what to create and see. Stealing synaptic glue, lowering dopamine, hypnotized, digital dementia, swiping with your smartphone 7 hours a day, rotting your brain. Your quantum computer, the most important organ you've got to create reality. You're giving it all away, the power. Stop it. For the love of God, for the love of yourself. Stop it. Wake up. Learn the truth, your power, learn your magic, and start to create reality. Because it's not real what you're watching. It's fake. It's all magic tricks in a box with special effects and Hollywood and programming and MK1 Ultra and blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's not go off on the negative. But don't be a voyeur, a spectator. Don't just lay down and die. You do that long enough, they just upload your consciousness to the cloud and throw your body in a trash heap. And you've lost all free will. That's not why you came here.
It's an amazing incarnation, this one. I feel there's a uniqueness to it that perhaps our reams of ancestors, or for want of a different word, so many ancestors did not have the elements in their daily experience, or the challenges, the subtle new challenges that weren't there. And that says something about us, everyone alive right now, as souls. It says a lot, I think, that
we live in the most amazing time, that we can manifest faster than ever before. The time between thought and reality the gap is closing. It's Abraham Hicks said it well, every time you praise something or someone or yourself, you close the gap between you and source, between you and everything you want. And every time you criticize yourself or you criticize another or you focus on the negative, you widen the gap between you and source. Very simple basics. They also say if 99% of your life is amazing and 1% is awful, and you focus on that 1% long enough, then 99% of your life will be awful and only 1% will be amazing. It works the other way too, vice versa. If 99% of your life you feel is awful, you're limited, you're trapped, you're a victim, and only 1% is good, If you focus on that goodness and ignore the awful, one day, 99% of your life is going to be good. That's your power. Don't give it away.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on, because it's, you know, pointing to we are the creators of everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thank you, Max.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you. And yeah, all I can say is thank you. If you're up for another one on a specific subject sometime, you know, something that you feel or maybe relevant to the collective, um, but the cool thing about this subject matter, Shen in general, and anything focusing on unity and taking 100% responsibility for our experiences, it's timeless, and there's no. I hope that if someone watches this, say in 10 years' time, it will be equally as relevant to now.
Yeah, there you go. There is no such thing as time. And when you're in the meditative state or in a state of centeredness, or if you're in the Tao, like I was a practicing Taoist, I slowed down time. I lived in the moment with everything I did throughout every segment of my day. I was calm, centered in the moment, and trained myself to only think about that one thing. Because Lao Tzu said, stop thinking, you cure all your problems. The sage is not attached to anything. Therefore, he does what is right without speaking, simply by being in the Tao. So when I slowly walked in nature, and I only think about what I see. When I see a beautiful tree, I have to stop and look at it. I take some reishi mushroom that helped slow down time, be in the moment. It's a Shen herb. And that's when you're in that state of centeredness or in the Tao or in your transcendental meditation, your TM or whatever, you go to a place where there is no time. When you do the focus card, when my friends were staring at the card for 1 hour, when they have a good session and they go the whole hour without a random thought entering their brain, they just see the drawing and lose track of time. What happens every time when you do that is the timer goes off. Oh, it kind of jolts you. Whoa, who am I? Where am I? Was that an hour? It felt like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, like I was just sitting here because you had left the conscious mind. You would access the quantum field through the subconscious mind that processes 4 billion bits of information per second, has all power, all knowingness. When you go into that state, Tao, centeredness, meditation, time stops. There is no aging. I just wanted to add that because you brought up the word time, meaning I hope this podcast is still valuable in 10 years from now. Indeed, I think it will be.
Beautiful words and wisdom. Thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.